Good evening. The Philippines has invited Japan to participate fully in next year's Balikatan exercises, the country's biggest war games with the United States. In a press conference, Armed Forces of the Philippines Executive Agent of Balikatan 2024, Colonel Michael Logico, confirms that the country has invited Japan for Balikatan 2025. Logico made the announcement following the trilateral summit between Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., Japan Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, and U.S. President Joe Biden. Marcos earlier said the reciprocal access agreement with Tokyo will soon be completed. The reciprocal access agreement enables a mechanism for shared military training and operations and larger joint exercises between Philippines and Japan. However, Logico says that Japan will only join as observers for this year's Balikatan. Logico further says that other countries have manifested intention to join the Balikatan exercises, but did not further elaborate on the information. More than 2 tons of shabu loaded into a passenger van were seized in Alitagtag town in Batangas province in what authorities described as the largest drug bust in the history of the country. According to Calabarzon Regional Police, citing a spot report from the Alitagtag police station, the police flagged down a futile van at a checkpoint along the highway in Barangay Pinagkurusan on Monday, April 15. The investigators reported the Parañaque City-bound vehicle came from Santa Teresita town in Batangas and was heading towards Lipa City when its driver, Alahon Michael Zarate, was ordered to pull over by the authorities. Zarate failed to present his driver's license and appeared uneasy and uncomfortable. Policemen then noticed the cargo at the back of the vehicle that was covered with a tolda, which turned out to be several sacks and plastic containers filled with shabu. Citing reports from the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, Calabarzon Police Public Information Officer Lieutenant Colonel Chitadel Gawiran says the shabu were approximately valued at 13.3 billion pesos. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. stresses that launching the drug war without resorting to violent means is possible, with the largest ever drug bust being conducted without anyone being killed or shot. In a short briefing following his inspection of the confiscated shabu in Alitagtag, Batangas, Marcos says that the estimated weight of the contraband was 1.8 tons, making it the biggest ever drug seizure in the country's history.
Ang estimate baka umabot ito ng 1.8 tons. So ibig sabihin, ito na yung pinakamalaking huli na nagawa natin. But hindi lang ito. Meron na tayo as of today. Ang huli natin is already 13.2, 13.3 tons. So patuloy talaga, marami talaga tayong nahuhuli.
The president points out that no person was hurt nor died despite the incident being the largest ever drug bust.
I would like also to point out that this is the biggest shipment of shabu na nahuli natin. But not one person died. Walang namatay, walang nagputukan, walang nasaktan. Basta't inoperate natin ng dahan-dahan, yun naman dapat ang approach. Para sa akin, yun dapat ang approach sa drug war. Na ang pinaka-importante is matigil natin ang pag-ship ng mga drugs dito sa pagpasok sa Pilipinas.
Marcos believes that the approach in the drug war should focus on eradicating the entry of illegal drugs into the country.
This is the approach that we are taking to the drug war. Ang ating ginagawa, we take apart, binabaklas natin yung mga sindikato, kahit sino man. Ang nakita natin may kasabwat dito sa drug trade. Kahit sino man, kahit politiko ba na powerful politician o police o kung sino man, talagang iniimbestigahan natin.
Initial reports from the police said that the shabu or crystal meth were found loaded into a passenger van which was flagged down at a checkpoint at Barangay Pinagkurusan in Batangas. President Marcos has maintained that the government will take a different view of the drug war. During his first official visit to the U.S. in September 2022, Marcos said that his administration will take a slightly different approach to former President Rodrigo Duterte's drug war. Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla orders an investigation to determine if Davao del Norte 1st District Representative Pantaleon Alvarez can be prosecuted for sedition, inciting to sedition, or even rebellion. In a statement, Remulla orders the investigation and reminds Congressman Alvarez to act in accordance of the standards of ethics, morality, and nationalism. Remulla adds that Alvarez should avoid remarks that are unbecoming of a member of the House of Representatives. Remulla's statement comes after Alvarez called on the police and military to withdraw their support from President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. during a rally in Tagum City. But Alvarez later clarified that his call for the withdrawal of support was not the coup d'etat style. Alvarez also said that he was only emotional because Malacanang's foreign policy is dragging the country into a further conflict with China. Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. calls the attempts to make the armed forces of the Philippines turn against the Constitution and the current administration as futile. In a statement, Teodoro says the AFP is steadfast in upholding the Constitution under the leadership of President Bongbong Marcos. Teodoro adds that any attempt to sway them away from their duty or to encourage them to support a partisan agenda is futile, especially if the agenda is contrary to the national interest. Teodoro also warns that the call to withdraw support for the current administration may lead to a possible criminal investigation. Teodoro's statement came after Davao del Norte 1st District Representative Pantaleon Alvarez urged the AFP to peacefully withdraw their support for Marcos. Meanwhile, the AFP previously reaffirmed their loyalty to the Constitution and to the Commander-in-Chief. On April 14, Alvarez urged the AFP to peacefully withdraw their support towards Marcos to avert a possible war over the West Philippine Sea issue, which he said would bring countless dead bodies, unimaginable destruction, famine, and hunger. The Department of Transportation says protesters who participated in the two-day transport strike may be held liable for committing traffic violations. In an interview following the founding anniversary of the Land Transportation Office, Transportation Secretary Jaime Bautista says that government agencies will review the infractions of the protesters. Bautista observes that the protest was only successful in causing traffic congestion for travelers and motorists. Bautista further says that the protesters can assert their rights, but they should not cause inconvenience to the public. Bautista made the remark following the first day of the transport strike organized by transport groups Piston and Manibela, which commenced on April 15. The groups are protesting the deadline for consolidating jeepney drivers and operators, the first part of the Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program. Here's the latest roundup of today's top stories. Authorities seize more than 2 tons of shabu in Alitagtag, Batangas. Defense Secretary Gibo Teodoro calls attempts to turn AFP against Marcos administration futile. And Luzon and Visayas grids placed under yellow and red alerts. These are the stories you need to know today. I'm Neil Mercado. Follow INQUIRER.net on Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. For more stories, visit INQUIRER.net. Good evening.